Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining, everybody. Man, today we got a whiskey review. I was lucky to get this bottle. Darrell got one as well. We'll get into that story in just a moment. But we got a Old Forester 117 series. So these come in 375 milliliters. And this one is 98 proof. This is the Warehouse H barrel version. So, if you aren't familiar with these 117 series, initially the way that I read the story was that Old Forester was looking for something that would be distillery only releases. I mean, I bought this one in Northern Kentucky, so not quite distillery only. But let's break this down and see if the hype on these and this particular one, the Warehouse H barrels, is worth the hunt. So thanks for joining me today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. All right. So I'll pour a little bit here. I got a 80 HD Whiskey Glen for today's review. Cheers to Matt. Thank you, buddy, for all that you've helped us with. But with this Old Forester 117 series, so Darrell and I got real lucky. We were walking through the Party Source in Northern Kentucky, and we passed by the customer service desk, and I looked at it, and there was nothing there. And I said, Darrell, some of the bottles that you see me get, like, I just get lucky, and they just put them on this desk right here. I mean, there's nothing here right now, but let's see if there's anything on the way out. So we looped around the whole store, spent like 15 minutes in there, grabbed a bottle or two, and then on the way out, lo and behold, customer service desk, they laid out some Old Forester 117. Didn't expect to get that. Now, these are 375s. As I said off the top, this is 98 proof. This was $50. I'm pretty sure. I've been trying to remember if it was $50 or $60. Either way, when you extrapolate that, that would have been $100 for a regular bottle of this. Now, I do feel like when they do the split bottles, it kind of messes with my mind a little bit. We'll get into that here at the end. But I love the fact that people are doing 375s because for someone like me who buys a lot of whiskey and then just sits on them and has these bottles hanging around, I'd be perfectly fine buying half bottles. I just want to try everything. That's all I want to do. I just want to try everything. So having a 375 to sample through, that's win-win. It's less to share. That's true. It's less to put in blinds, but I don't need big bottles. I just need small bottles like this. Half the price, twice as much whiskey. I'm good with that. That made sense in my head, but not quite out loud. Twice as many brands or variations of whiskey, not necessarily twice as much whiskey. So let's get into this one. So this one is coming from Warehouse H. They have a description here, more or less. It's just a description about their temperature controlled warehouses during the winter. So that just sounds like Old Forester in general. But with this release, with these 117 series, each one is a little different. So this is the Warehouse H version. I'd really be interested in trying the 1910 Extra Age version. I also got to try the Angel's Share version or something along those lines with Angel. And I was lukewarm on that one. We'll see how I am on this one. So we're going to go through the nose, go through the palate, go through the flavors on this tasting, and then we will get into the scores that I gave to this particular whiskey. So thank you for joining me today, whiskey friends. Let's get into it. You know, it's coming across as what I would expect from an Old Forester 100 even. There is a note there that catches me a little off guard, and it's almost like a, porcelain note. So, a porcelain decanter or porcelain doll, something along those lines. There's a bit of molasses, bit of banana. The banana is really shining through today. And some, artificial cherry is there. So, the fruits are coming through. There's that molasses and that porcelain note that I'm still trying to process. And then that cherry is pretty strong. That's about what I'm getting off the nose. Let's get into the taste. Up front, initially, some brown sugar, maybe a little cinnamon, vanilla. It's mostly muted up front. Let's get into mid palate. Mid palates, essentially. All right. So this brings me back to like 4th of July parties, family events, but there is essentially a big, huge glass bowl that my aunts will make that is like a layer of banana pudding and then like an entire container of Cool Whip and then another layer of banana pudding and then an entire container of Cool Whip. That's essentially what I'm getting mid palate. Maybe at the top of it, there's a drizzle of Hershey syrup. So that's kind of mid palate. Now, that might sound more delicious than I'm actually leaning into, but those are at least the flavor notes. And then the finish is an exact continuation of that. Um, Maybe with a little more vanilla, and then that Hershey syrup hangs on at the finish. It's that bowl. That is it. It's that bowl of banana pudding with like the entire container of Cool Whip in between. That's what I'm going with on this one. And then the Hershey syrup on top. Mid palate finish. It's the same. Hmm. I don't think there's too much more to call out on this one. That's pretty consistent. So through and through, that's what you're going to find. It doesn't have, um, it's 98 proof. So that's the one thing to keep in mind when I'm talking about these flavors. They don't necessarily punch you. They're just that. They're subtle. They're nice. They're consistent. It's a little drying at the end. So the finish is a little drying. So that's kind of where I am on that one. It's that banana pudding bowl with the Cool Whip, drying sensation at the end. That's the Old Forester 117. Let's get to the scores. So here on the site, we do have a 3-tier scoring system. We got the flavor score, the experience score, the value score. Flavor is just how enjoyable it was each step of the way. The nose, the front of the palate, mid palate to the finish. Experience is more about the mouth feel, the complexity of the flavors, the length of the finish. And then the value is just how much I enjoyed the value of this relative to the experience. So on this one, yeah, it's kind of all over the place here. So flavor score, the finish, you can see that I'm trying to like gum through it here a little bit. I'm not a fan of the finish, so I think that brought down the score a little bit, but it really just doesn't have too much going on beyond the flavors that I described. That also hurt the experience. So when it comes to the complexity, that brought it down a little bit there as well. And then the value, I did grade this as if I spent 50, but it's technically a $100 bottle relative to everything else. For 98 proof, it doesn't quite go there. So that's the kind of the interesting thing with the 375s. I mean, thankfully out the door, it was $50, but relative to everything else, it's $100. Is this a $100 bottle? I think the score tells you what I'm thinking there. So I gave it a 73 out of 100. That makes it a very good pour. It's delightful. It just doesn't resonate as a $100 pour. So in terms of a recommend, I'd give this one a 4 out of 10. If you're a big Old Forester person, maybe this one will resonate with you. I don't think this is one to hunt. Do I plan to buy another? I said maybe. I won't buy another Warehouse H if this is what it is at 98 proof. But as I said off the top, I'm real interested in getting into the 1910 Extra Age one of all the releases I've seen from the 117 series. But so far, the series hasn't quite won me over yet. So we'll see if one of the releases eventually does. Well, that breaks down the Old Forester 117. This is the Warehouse H version. It's just okay. Yeah, I think that's all I can say about that. So, let me know in the comments if you've tried the Warehouse H before, what you have thought about the 117 series so far, and which ones you've gotten a chance to try. I'm really curious. So thank you for joining me today, whiskey friends. I'll catch you on the next whiskey review. Goodbye, everybody.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have the